I like oats, but I don't care for the sticky, gluey texture of cooked oatmeal. I prefer the chewier texture and the visual image of the extra thick rolled oats, and I prefer oatmeal bars, pies, and cookies. Bob's Red Mill offers very thick rolled oats, but ever since I've been grinding grains for bread, I've wanted to roll my own oats. Recently, I decided to stop dreaming and start searching the internet for a machine that would allow me to roll oats. There are a variety of these machines for home use, and they vary in price from $40 to nearly $300. But what is the difference between them? A few people have posted information and video of these machines, but their information is not very useful in helping us to understand the differences between them. I can't provide much information either because I've only used one machine. The photos of the oats after these machines have rolled them show that compared to the rolled oats from Quaker Oats or Bob's Red Mill, these machines are crude because they tear the oats rather than flatten them. I came to the conclusion that there's no sense spending a lot of money for a machine that produces such a crude quality of rolled oats, so I purchased the least expensive machine available, which was a slightly used Norpro machine that Amazon offered for only $36. This Norpro machine appears to be a lower-priced, all-steel version of the Italian Marga machine. In our current economic system, these low-cost Chinese products sell in large quantities, but we do not benefit in the long run when a company uses cheap labor to make an imitation of somebody else's product. We benefit when companies compete in a fair manner and inspire one another to do a better job. For example, recently a Chinese company assembled an extremely earthquake-resistant and energy-efficient prefabricated building in only 15 days. If they actually did their own research for this project, rather than plagiarize the technology, they are certain to inspire people in other nations to do a better job with their buildings. Imagine a world in which every nation has leaders that impress and inspire us rather than annoy us with their greed, fights over territory, and attempts to eliminate their competitors. Anyway, I have not seen the Italian machine, but this Chinese version appears to be an exact imitation. They even copied what I would consider to be the design flaws. For example, the machine claims that it can both roll oats and grind grains into flour. But my experiences with machines that try to have multiple uses is that they are usually mediocre in whatever they claim to do. Rolling oats and grinding flour are two different processes, and I think this machine should be modified so that it is only for rolling oats. In fact, after I used this machine one time, I decided to tear it apart and modify it for rolling oats. For example, it has 3 rollers, but the roller on the bottom is not needed for rolling oats. Also, the machine uses gears that were stamped from sheets of steel rather than machined, and their low quality gives the machine a crude feel when you crank the handle. Fortunately, this machine is made in the old-fashioned manner with screws, bolts, and thick steel components, and so it's easy to disassemble and modify it compared to the modern construction methods of thin parts that are held together with spot welds and rivets. So I removed one of the 3 rollers, moved the drive roller up to the top, and modified the drive roller to take one of the other gears. I also put a piece of corrugated cardboard over the 2 areas of the machine where the rolled oats would collect, and I drilled a hole in the casing for the cranking handle. I also shoved some cardboard in the crankshaft hole in order to make the handle fit tightly. These modifications make it easier to turn the handle, and the motion is more smooth, and by removing that 3rd roller there's less damage to the oats. However, after using it a few times, I decided to file down the surface of the rollers in order to make the serrations less sharp, in the hope that I could further reduce the tearing of the oats. The machine now produces rolled oats with even less damage. By filing down those serrations, I cut through the chrome plating, which leaves bare steel, but since the rollers never get wet, it shouldn't cause a problem. The commercially available rolled oats have much less damage, but this machine lets me produce rolled oats whenever I please, and I can alter the thickness with the adjustment knob and the fine-tuning nut. To summarize how this machine works, you just put some oats into the hopper and crank the handle for a minute or so, and then remove the oats. The oats are a bit torn up compared to the commercially available rolled oats, and as a result, they break into pieces more easily. Therefore, the oatmeal bars or cookies that you make with these will not be as visually attractive as the commercially available rolled oats, but the taste and texture will be just as good or better. I began this video by complaining about cooked oatmeal, but I actually enjoy oatmeal. However, I make it at a lower temperature like I do with most foods. To reduce damage to the oats, which makes the oatmeal more visually attractive and less gluey, I first make a mixture of water and flavorings such as salt, cinnamon, cloves, stevia, molasses, dates, raisins, and honey, and then I put the oats into the mixture. For this example, I'll put some raisins on the left half of this bowl. And I'll add the remaining oats. I'll bring the water up near the top of the oats. I usually add coconut oil or butter after it's cooked, but in this example I'll do it before cooking. Then I put the cover on and I let the bowl sit in a pan of hot water. The higher the temperature, the faster the oats will absorb the water. In this example, the mixture is entirely oatmeal, so it will not hold its shape, so I cannot remove it from the bowl and slice it up into oatmeal bars. I eat this type of oatmeal directly from the bowl. To make oatmeal bars, just add some wheat flour and bake it.